Excellent. Wonderful. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Daniela Barbosa, and I'm the Executive Director of LF Decentralized Trust. The Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust is the world's leading open source foundation for decentralized technologies. And I'm so excited to be here to publicly talk about the India's leadership in decentralized technologies. It is a fantastic panel discussion, also speaking with our leaders today around how innovation, collaboration, and real-world impact coming out of our India community is leading the way in decentralized technologies. I want to welcome everyone today from around the world, whether you're in Asia or in the United States or in South America. It's fantastic to see you here. I would love for everybody to go into the chat and let us know, what city are you zooming in from? I'd love to always see how people around the world are participating. Just like any other Linux Foundation events and webinars, we do have some standard requirements for our webinars. All are welcome, and respectful collaboration starts here in this webinar and across all our meetups, all our community meetings, and anytime you engage with other members of the community. So once again, all are welcome, and we love to see you collaborate respectfully with one another. Just like all our webinars, just a couple of housekeeping rules. All Linux Foundation events do fall under our antitrust policy. Julian, if you can go on to the next slide, please. So a couple of things. Antitrust policy. If you have any questions around our antitrust policy, please do look on our website. This session is also being recorded and will be available on our Linux Foundation website webinars, as well as YouTube. A big shout out to all the live streamers that are out there on LinkedIn and YouTube live stream as well. Next slide, please. This webinar is for you. We want to make sure you get the most out of it. Each session that we have through today will have the ability to raise your hand if you want to speak and ask your question via voice. At the bottom of the Zoom link, you will see a Q&A area. Please do ask your questions there. Don't be shy, and we'll either answer them live or via the Q&A area for answers as well. And I encourage all the panelists during your panel and after your panel to answer any questions that might pop in there as well. And the chat, I see some of the chats coming through about where people are coming from. So greetings from Chennai and Atlanta, Amsterdam. So please go ahead and let us know where you're dialing in from. We'd love to see how the world is here to learn about our India community as well. So once again, for those of you who might be new to LF Decentralized Trust, for the last 10 years at the Linux Foundation, we've had blockchain and decentralized identity projects, open source communities that really are focused on decentralized technology. Last September, we expanded what was known as the Hyperledger Foundation. We brought in trust over IP, and we expanded it to LF Decentralized Trust, which is an umbrella of projects in the ledger technology, in a decentralized identity, interoperability, and cryptography. We are the premier open source foundation for fostering global collaboration, and we are so happy to be here today to talk about our community growth. Let me take you very quickly through the agenda. We're going to have Julian Gordon, who's our VP of Asia Pacific, showcase some of the advances that our members and chapter and community have had. Then it is going to be my honor to have a fireside chat with our India regional chapter leaders around the future of decentralized technology development in India. And it's going to be a fantastic panel. At the panels, we're going to have 3 panels with our member community talking about real-world blockchain use cases, decentralized identity deep dives, and a panel on digital assets and digital currencies. This is going to be a fantastic panel with our staff members, Hart Montgomery, who's our CTO, with Julian Gordon, who's our VP of Asia Pacific, and Karen Antoni, who's our Senior Director of Ecosystems and Strategic Alliances on these topics. At the end of each panel, we will have some time for Q&A, hopefully, but once again, put the Q&A in the chat or in the Q&A feature in Zoom, or raise your hand when we do call out for questions, and we look forward to your participation. And please do stay at the end. We'll have a group photo for everybody on. You can turn on your video and we'll grab that and share that on social. So once again, thank you so much. And I'd like to introduce you to Julian Gordon, who's our VP of Asia Pacific. Julian?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Daniela. And as Daniela said, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Your video, please.
My video. There you are. So yeah, we're truly around the planet here from Daniela, I think at 7 a.m. to me here in Hong Kong at 10 p.m. With people across the planet. So very much welcome. As Daniela said, I am Julian Gordon. I'm the VP for Asia Pacific, Middle East for Linux for LFDDT, or Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. I'm going to give you just a quick 5 to 6, 7 minutes kind of overview of really showcasing our members, the chapter, and our community. And that will create the kind of platform for us then to go through the different panels. So firstly, what really started this, the reason that we're doing this webinar really came out of our ebook. And I suggest we have a QR code here, please. If you do not have the ebook already, we'll actually put, I think, a link in the chat, but use this QR code to download it. This ebook was the second time that we've done an India ebook, and it really came out of our desire to really share some of the things that Daniela and us, all as a community, have seen that come out of India in terms of innovation, leadership, contribution, and it's been a great thing. And we'd like to, through that, through this book, we'll highlight the exceptional work done, and it'll give you kind of lots of insights. So I'm just going to cover a little bit of information, but there's a lot more information in the ebook. Please do download that. So why India? And India has been, as we all know, a strong development, strong innovation, strong leadership in technology, known globally. It has a rapidly growing Web3 ecosystems, which we have all experienced, having great effects around the planet. Has a developer community and a true strength of its developer community, which according to GitHub is going to be the largest by 2028. We've seen a lot of strong government support for decentralized technology, especially around trust and decentralized identity. And we're going to be looking a little bit about some of the things that they've done from a national perspective, and each state. And our members here, and I'm going to show our members are all truly world leading in their use and development and contribution of decentralized technology globally. Also, the case studies and the implementation, real production cases in India, just across all different industries. I mean, probably one of the most famous ones is the Reserve Bank of India with the Indian Rupee, which runs on Hyperledger Fabric. We have MIT's national blockchain framework. We have the anti-spam. I think that's been going from the regulatory authority, telecom regulatory authority. That's been now, I think, 4 or 5 years. We have Digi Yatra, which is a household name in India. We're going to hear a little bit about Digi Yatra's use of decentralized technologies from LFDT. We have education, supply chain, just lots and lots and lots of case studies. And the people that you're going to be hearing today, our members and our communities, are fully involved in making sure that these happen, and the people who are in touch with the real use case studies that we have. So the India chapter. So, I mean, where do I start? This is our first India chapter, started 6 years ago, soon to be 7 years ago. It really came out of our desire to pull together the meetups. It's something that came from India. Can we have an India chapter? And it was the first one that we did. And I think the first one Linux Foundation project has done for India. We now have in our meetup 24,000 members. They've helped grow the community, be a conduit point between them. They hold leadership roles. A lot of people within India hold leadership roles. We have an active student society, runs events, and as with everything, and as Daniela said, everyone is welcome. So please, if you're not involved in India chapter, globally or locally, please do get in touch with them. And these are the people that you can get in touch with. These are the leadership, but also anybody within it. You're going to hear in a few minutes from Ankita, Kamlesh, and Vikram on the next activity here with Daniela. But I also want to make sure that other leaders, Garima, who's our government lead, Ritu, who is events and engagement lead, and Kartike, who's developed AgPet and also helps with the events and engagement lead, and Anasua, who's our society leads. These have been very active, very, very much involved. So I'm very easy to get in touch with. Please do get in contact with them or anyone else. Everybody is welcome. So thank you to these leaders. And actually, there a history of leaders. We have many leaders going back over many years, over the 7 years. So now this is, if you look on the map to the left, you can see that the breadth of our meetup groups across the region, and I think some of the key kind of contributions. We have over 20 maintainers of projects, hundreds of contributors across the projects, labs, and documentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about very exciting. Recently, Ayanworks contributed from India, a first full blown project. We have maintainers, a lot of Besu contributors. Besu, by the way, is a very strong and hot project that we have at the moment. We have our mentorship programs. So much is involved. And this is all in the book. So as I said, please do download the book. And now, we wouldn't be here without our members. I have to really say thank you to them. I'm going to quickly go through the list. We have Infosys, TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, Quartz. We have Wipro. We have Ayanworks, Dhiway, DocuChain, a print to block. We have IDS, KrypC, Qila, and you're going to be hearing from each of those. You're going to see representatives from each of these experts and leaders from each of these members in the panel. We also have Digi Yatra, NPCI, KBA, and SentGits, and APRI. I'm going to go a little bit more. This is the information that you have. As I said, please do download the ebook. For each member, we have information about who they are, what they are, about their case studies, whether they are certified providers, and you can see pictures of their community all across India, from Chennai, Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Hyderabad, Chandigarh, all across India. We have members. So here's Wipro, KrypC, and IDS. We also have Infosys, TCS, and Ayanworks. So please do have a look at the information we have. We have Dhiway, Qila, and we also have Walmart, not headquartered in India, but Walmart have with their big global tech center in Bangalore and across India, have been very much involved. They were very much involved right from the beginning of our work here in India. As I said, this is some of we also have associate members, NPCI, obviously famous for UPI, but also very much working some stuff around Fabric and around the digital currency. We have Digi Yatra. As I said, we're going to hear about that. I think I said there's 11 million travelers using it across 24 airports for their identity. We have SDP Apari. SD Apari are very much a startup organization, a center of entrepreneurship from METI, the government, and actually a number of our members, I believe Ayanworks and IDS, started through, have worked with Apari, and they are now a member. We're going to be doing a lot more with them. Look to that moving forward. We also have KBA. Back in 2018, they had a mandate to train 10,000, and they have been with us ever since. With Hyperledger Fabric and Besu in terms of training. And SentGits, they were one of the first to do any kind of local translation Malayan down in Kerala. Where they did a lot of documentation, and they've been very much involved in localizing our documentation, which is a very key activity as well. Two of our major programs that our members are involved in. One is our Certified Service Provider Program, which is a pre-qualified tier of vetted service providers that have deep experience. helping enterprises with LF Decentralized Technologies, and we have IDS, Infosys, KrypC, and Wipro, and we are just about to have another two, I think. I won't announce those today, but we have a couple of those coming on board. Our members here in India, and also training partners, as I mentioned, Krella Blockchain Academy and IDS have been working on this for a long time, and Infosys are also now a training partner. So training thousands and thousands of people in India and across the world in our technologies. Two areas I'm just going to finish with. So how can you get involved? This is just two ideas of many things that you can get involved in. One thing is our mentorship program. Look out for actually a LinkedIn post from Daniela, who says it's one of her favorite times of the year when we release our mentorship program. We're now looking for mentors, for mentees. And we have always had great number of mentees from India. 45% last year, 2024, were from India. Also, our mentors, people like Anasuya, we mentioned, and Vinod from Wipro, and many others have taken their time to mentor some of people, and it's a great growth, a great way to help the community. Also, another I said talk about Credible, and we'll be hearing from Ayanworks a little bit later. They contributed Credible to Linux Foundation Centralized Trust, and it's first big large contribution of a project from India, so it's very much a thing to get involved in. And you can go to their GitHub. They're going to have calls which you can get involved in, community calls, very much helpful and useful for this Indian time zone. So please do get involved. And with that, going to say thank you to everyone. Please look at the India ebook, and I now hand it back to you, Daniela. Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you, Julian. And thank you for all your leadership and support of our community in India and beyond. For those of you who have been in our community a long time, Julian Gordon has been really the biggest supporter of the region, of all our members, and the entire community there. And as you saw in some of the slides, and actually, Julian, do you mind just putting the India chapter meetup slide back up with the map? As you saw in the slide, and is broken out in the ebook that, once again, we encourage you to download, and we'll put another link in the chat in a little bit. We have seen tremendous growth across India, and it is all because of the India regional chapter and the leaders that we're going to be talking to today. As Julian said, over the years, we've had a lot of people take leadership roles, but every single one of you that are contributors, that are participating in the events, are the reason that the region is the leading region around the world. There is no doubt that India is poised to become the world's largest developer community by 2028. There's a lot of strong government support for this in the blockchain and digital public infrastructure space. And what we've built here over the last 6 years and over the last 10 years at the Linux Foundation around blockchain and digital identity is really positioning our community worldwide, and specifically our community in India, to lead the way in regards to blockchain and digital public infrastructure and digital identity. And that's a lot of the conversation that we're going to have today. And why is that? Why did we see a growth of over 33% last year through the India regional chapter, now numbering close to 25,000? It might even be up more than 25,000 by this morning. And it's because of the community efforts that every single one of you and the leaders, once again, that we'll be talking to today, bring forth and contribute to us. A foundation is only as big and as powerful as our members, and each contribution that each of you does brings us to this place where we're able to really point to the fantastic work that our community, that our members, and each individual person is doing here. We've seen, as I said, 33% growth just in 23 and 24 alone, and I hope to see the kind of growth again in 2025 as the community continues to grow. We mentioned, 45% of our mentees are from the India region. This is fantastic, and Julian mentioned mentioned it, our mentorships are open. Many of the people that you're going to be talking to are folks that are part of the mentorship program. So they're either mentors, are current mentees, or have been mentees in the past, and please do engage with them as well. The other thing that the regional chapter has done that is just fantastic and really grows the community and the efforts that everybody's working towards is the events. Just in 2024, there was a hyper hack, there was Women in Blockchain, one of my favorite events that we host here globally at the foundation, and the Blockchain and Tech Fest event. And getting together in person and having these events, sharing the work and the contributions that you're doing, what you're building, really drives that community as well. So if you can put the agenda, the fireside slide up, Julian, I apologize. Back up with the speakers. There you go. Fantastic. I'd like to ask the fireside chat panelists to turn on their videos, please. Annika Patidar from Ayanworks. We have Kamlesh Nagar from FSV Labs and Vikram Sharma from HCL Tech. These are four of the quite a few chapter leaders that we have. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what they do and how they've been involved in the community. Kamlesh, let's go ahead and start off with you.
Yeah, thank you, Daniela, and it's great to be here and part of the LFDT ecosystem from last 7-8 years. And I've been part of the Hyperledger India, now is LFDT India since last inception when the Amol and the Ajay started the chapter, and then as a contributor I joined, and then now leading the one of the co-chair. And in my professional career, I've been part of the IBM, I've been part of the HSBC, and as a CTO of one blockchain startup. And mostly my projects evolve around the Hyperledger ecosystem, LFDT ecosystem. And so thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, welcome, Kamlesh, and thank you so much for your leadership over the last 8 years. Seems like 8 years plus. I think I've known Kamlesh probably the longest in the community there as well. So welcome. Annika, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you. I'm like Ayanworks is part of this LFDT India chapter since the beginning, as Kamlesh mentioned. And I've recently joined. Like I have been part of this community since long back, and I've recently joined as a co-chair as well in the community. And from my work, I'm mainly into decentralized identity space and building enterprise solutions on self-sovereign identity and decentralized identity. And I've been in the blockchain space since 7 years for now. Like it's long back, and it's great to be here. Looking forward to the event.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Annika, and thanks again for all your contributions and leadership in the decentralized identity space. As I mentioned before, I do think it's a great opportunity, as we'll hear from other members as well. So welcome. And Vikram Sharma from HCL. Good to see you. Always smiling. Why don't you give us an introduction of how you have been participating and contributing?
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Janila. So yeah, I guess, my journey started with blockchain, I guess 8 years back or something. But with the chapter, it started when, with COVID, by I think 2019 or 2020, early 2020, when, India chapter, held its, hackathon, Hyper Hack. That's how I, came to know of, India chapter. And since then, I've been part of it. The moment I, participated in one, I started with the, weekly calls, and then, took initiative to, run various events, contribute them. So, as event lead, and then, have been leading this chapter for last few years now. And, had the pleasure of working with, great leaders like, Daniela, Julian, and, of course, others as well, specifically from the India chapter. And in my professional life, I've been working on blockchain, as I mentioned, for last, 7-8 years now. And I lead blockchain practice for HCL Tech. And like I'm a core techie at heart, so heart. So I keep engaged with providing blockchain solutions and advocating blockchain across India as well. As part of this chapter. Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. Welcome. And, you know, not only are you three leaders, but you're builders. You're out there with customers and partners building solutions using LF decentralized technologies and other technologies as well. So it's fantastic to have you as leaders and contributors in that way. I mentioned earlier when I did the introduction that, you know, India is poised to become the world's largest developer community by 2028. And I think, you know, I would love to hear from you about what you think are some of the unique strengths that India has in regards to being that leader in the marketplace. So maybe Kamlesh, we'll start off with you again. You know, what are the strengths that you see in the community around talent or policy that really brings India to the forefront as a leader?
Yeah. So, Renla, if you see the India ecosystem perspective, so we have largest developer community in the world, and especially blockchain, we are the second largest, and and that's why number of protocols, a number of blockchain companies want to be set up here. So we see Algorand, we see Hedera, we see Avalanche, and I think why the ecosystem is growing. One is the government support. So in India, like we have APIRI as a member as well. So APIRI is leading the blockchain initiative and helping the blockchain startup. Then number of universities, for example, I'm part of the IIT Madras, where we are also trying to doing this different city-wise education awareness program and for workshops. And so and university and government is always supporting to create the developer ecosystem. So this is one thing. And second, like open source community is also growing a lot. So there are number of developer community, let's say Google developer community or Java developer community. So this all ecosystem is actually thriving, and now developers just don't want to work day to day, just want to contribute back to the community. And this is the one reason like India is the largest developer community and towards contributing to the open source project, and LFDT projects is our one of them. So government and academia support is very huge in India.
Yeah. So really growing that open source pipeline through the academic community, and then the support from a government perspective and clarity on policy really drives much of the strengths and that we have. Enka, would you like to add some of your perspective as well from a developer ecosystem and adoption perspective?
Yeah. So as Kamlesh said that and India, it brings a unique combination of scale, which can help in test bidding and testing things, and talent, and also digital first policy to this global decentralized landscape. And we have fast expanding talent pool, which adapts and learn and contribute back to the decentralized technology. And as you mentioned, and Kamlesh also mentioned that, and data also said that we have 17% of all new global Web3 developers. They are from this geography. And beyond only talent, India also is pioneering. It has a pioneering approach for DPIs, which has transformed services at scale. And it is also inspiring global models. So similarly, it is actively exploring decentralized technologies, including identity. And on enterprise side, Indian firms, telcos, financial institutions, they are also engaging in live pilots as well as production deployments for decentralized trust frameworks. And they are using various LFDT projects, which is also gaining traction these days. So in my opinion, also that increasing open source contributions, hackathons, startup accelerators, and these policies which are embracing this environment and this technology, it makes India a natural leader in the decentralized tech. And it is not just building for itself, it is building for world, I would say.
Yeah. It's great to hear. I mean, 17% of Web3 developers currently today are coming out of the region. And I think that number continues to grow, and especially as, you know, what I call the Web2 to Web3 kind of engineering, you know, developer merge that people are moving into the Web3 space. I think we'll see more because we have overall seen a lot of, you know, Web2 traditional open source developers in the region as well. And the Linux Foundation, you know, obviously we have many projects across the Linux Foundation, Decentralized Trust being one of the umbrellas. but across many of our other projects, whether it's cloud native computing with Kubernetes, or some of the newer AI projects like PyTorch, etc. We see large communities, and just last year we announced at the Linux Foundation LF India in order to support some of these development efforts as well. And LF Decentralized Trust is critical in that growth path and really in India as well. So we're very proud of the work that our India community has done to really advance the developer ecosystem and participate in LF India. We have an event coming up in August, and we'll talk a little bit about this at the end of the webinar that you're all welcome to, but LF Decentralized Trust and our India community front and center of this work. So we talked a bit about why the unique strengths in the India community. So talking about the support of the government, the academics. And I think another thing is just the fantastic system integrators and service providers and organizations, folks like HCL and those like Wipro and Infosys and Tech Mahindra and others that we'll hear about today. But Vikram, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about, what are the key initiatives that you've seen at that chapter level? You've been with the chapter since the start, and really a leader in the community of how does what we do at the chapter really drive that developer ecosystem in the region?
I think, actually, we took various initiatives, starting with, hackathons and ideathons. We have, organized multiple thematic, hackathons, focusing on the real world problems, right? That's how you get the best out of it. And, that's how you get the interest of the industry as well as, the people as well, whether, those are for, supply chain, identity, sustainability, right? And even, metaverse. So we have done those, hackathons and ideathons. Then, we also, encourage, developer focused programs, such as, we organize various workshops and boot camps so that, the aspiring developers and the existing ones can actually, upskill themselves, or at least, get to know of the technology as well. Then, we organize, various meetups. And specifically, we understood the need that, industry and academia bridge, needs to be there, right? There is a gap that was supposed to be filled. So for that, we introduced student chapter, 4-5 years back. And with that student chapter, we now have reach to the universities and colleges. And, though they actually have a reach to us, as a chapter and as the, to the industry as well through us, right? So that is actually helping, those students. Yeah, and, driving this force, right? That 17% that we talked about, that is coming from there, right? So we are proud to be part of that, cycle as well. And then, we have organized various events like blockchain success stories or, blockchain tech fest. Now, these are the platforms where, people can share their stories, can learn from each other. And, therefore, we are acting, basically India is acting as a breeding ground for, innovations, which we prove at home and then take abroad, give it to the, industry as well. And specifically, we have seen, good amount of contributions as well from the Indian community, from the community in India, towards the open source, specifically, LFDT projects and, various labs. So many labs are there, and, I've seen so much enthusiasm whenever, that mentorship opportunity, menteeship opportunity comes along, right? Yeah. So those are some of those things, yeah. So that probably, that's what I had to add. Thanks.
Yeah, fantastic. It's a highlight, I think, of the regional chapter, and we have other regional chapters worldwide as the student group. So, a big thanks to all the supporters and all the students. And one of my favorite things, as everyone knows, I love talking to people, is when students reach out to me, like on LinkedIn, and they touch base. They say, "Hey, I'm a participant in the LF India student chapter. I would love to connect with you." And I encourage you to do that, but please do send a note when you send it so that I know where you're coming from. But it's fantastic to see the growth there as well. Annika, can you talk a little bit about what we're planning on doing? What is the chapter working on currently that those who are listening in today can look forward to participating in?
So as Vikram mentioned, and I think Vikram pretty much covered a lot of areas that we are doing, we are planning to do everything. And there is one more thing, that engaging with government entities, because it is important to have an ecosystem to build something, right? So engaging with government entities is one thing that we have started to spread awareness about the decentralized technologies, how they can help in upscaling the existing one, how they complement the system, and how they can take the systems to next level, and to spread the awareness about these technologies. And this will also accelerate the adoption within the geography. So this is one thing that we have started. Student chapter is doing a great work to push forward the learning and for real world usage and implementation. And we are also looking to have an engagement for startups where we can build an ecosystem, exchange the thoughts, so that we can work together to have to build and use the technology at its best. So engaging startups, government entities, and students together to build an ecosystem is what as a chapter we are working on.
Okay, fantastic. And Kamlesh, do you have something to add to that, or have we covered most of the what's coming up from the chapter?
I think other thing, we are doing something in hackathon as well. So we every year do some blockchain hackathon, Hyperledger. But now we are collaborating with the other hackathons happening in the Web3 industry. This is another we are initiating, other than what Ankita and Vikram covered.
Fantastic. And I think, Julian before put up the co-chairs of the leadership and in the government lead work, Garma Singh and the work that they're doing there, and Dr. Anusha Innocent with the student chapter lead, and our developer advocate, Kartik Kashyap, and then events and engagement leads, Ritu Jan. So thank you to all those chapter co-leads who are not on the panel today, but are really contributing on a day-to-day basis. So as we wrap up, I'd love to hear from the three of you around, looking ahead. What are the one to two major opportunities and perhaps challenges that you're seeing in the community, and how, as a regional community, we can get together and address those. Kamlesh, maybe start with you, and then we'll go to Vikram and finish off with Annika.
So actually, like anyway, we calling blockchain as a decentralized ecosystem, and that's why the number of things happening in the silos. So as a community, I think we should try to identify the projects and identify the startups, or identify the government initiative, because I've been part of many different projects which are using the Hyperledger or LFDT technologies, but not we have their stories or their use cases listed in our LFDT ecosystem, or they are not even regularly in touch with the community. So I think this is one challenge. So we need to open another or maybe some kind of different initiative to bring all such initiative which happening in silos and doing a fantastic job, but is still not connected to the community. They just thinking is only the technology, but is a technology plus community. So if you have those data or those pointers, how to get this is one challenge I see. And second, I think anyway, in LFDT India chapter, we always been in supporting the government initiative in India. For example, when this national blockchain strategy launched, so we as a chapter, given our thought process and our idea inclusion in the strategy, so that we should also do very actively and try to become a thought leader or one of the chapter to increase the startup ecosystem or increase the government or increase the institutions who are using the technology come forward and share what they have been done. Because I've been part of many such projects where they are doing, but they are hesitate to share the information or hesitate to share what they are doing with the technology. This, I think, is two opportunity and challenges for us, which we need to tap it. We need to have some kind of way to connect those institution and organization who are using the technology, but not coming and not forwarding or not sharing with the community.
Yeah. So users that are not participating, contributing. I think a big part of the global, how do you get the global community working together? And it is a challenge, not that it's just time zones, but obviously there's a lot of initiatives, is to continuously bring in more maintainers and more contributors into the community. And this includes, government engineers that are, using and participating as well. So maybe focusing on doing kind of onboarding onboarding, on how do you contribute, why contribute could be useful as well. I mean, today, and you can see those numbers in the ebook, just from the India region that we were able to capture as part of our LFX insights, we have over 20 maintainers that are coming from the region, over 100 contributors. We had our first project, and we'll talk about this, that was contributed, that is Indian grown, which is credible, that Ayanworks contributed this year. We have 7% of the Bezu contributors are from India. We're seeing these numbers continuously increase, and Kamlesh and Vikram and Anika, you've been here for a while, those numbers continue to increase. So I think having us put together maybe some programs to help with those government education programs and bringing them in could be a very valuable, and then continuously bringing in contributors and maintainers that are working with the global maintainers and contributors across all our projects will just continue to benefit that gap that I think over the years has currently slowed down quite a bit as well. Vikram, how about you? Some major opportunities or challenges that we should be addressing?
I think, one opportunity that has come is, in last couple of years, we have seen the role of, generative AI coming up, right? Specifically with blockchain, together with blockchain and Web3, the decentralized AI. I think that is something that, industry as well as, academia and, where everyone is looking forward to that, how it should be adopted, what should be the standard. I think that is the area where we need to, probably do more ideathons, probably, right? And, work with, bring everyone together and, work on those opportunities as well. I think that will help us, drive and define how that decentralized AI, how that Web3 is going to look like. And we being, part of, Linux Foundation, decentralized trust. I think that trust that blockchain brings along with the AI, which is the future of, the technology. I think we need to, work on that. And, that has a lot of opportunities for the India chapter, for the open source contributors and, LFDT.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds to me like that's a challenge, Vikram, and I look forward to working with the community to see how we can bring that kind of talent into the blockchain and AI ecosystem as well. Anika, to close this off, love to hear from you about some opportunities and challenges as we head into the next panel.
Another biggest opportunity that I see is for decentralized technology in India is in the public transformation through verifiable credential and decentralized identity. Whether it is education, healthcare, welfare delivery, using these open standards for digital credential backed by decentralized governance and trust registries, it can bring transparency, efficiency, and user control at scale. Like projects like ONDC, DigiLocker, they have shown that appetite of India to move from siloed system to interoperable trust-based ecosystem. And that's where embedding decentralized trust into these flagship systems, which already serve millions, and but integrating with verifiable credential can take them to next level in terms of security, portability, and user control. And like, as you mentioned, that Credible, which is the recent contribution to LFDT, which is made in India, open sourced for decentralized credentialing infrastructure, using open standard can add that trust layer to these flagship systems and make them tamper-proof, cryptographically verifiable, users' consent and control. And to make this real, the community must tackle this problem of interoperability and coordination. As Kamlesh also mentioned, that we need to have some shared schemas. And we need to have open governance to prevent these fragmentations that we have currently. And that's where LFDT India chapter can lead this by convening public and private stakeholders to co-create common building blocks and to ensure that systems like the flagship systems that currently we have and the new LFDT projects, which we have Sawtooth and Credible, they doesn't just coexist, they can work seamlessly together. And I mean, this is our moment to build India's decentralized trust layer, I would say, which is open, inclusive, and built for the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that message, and especially about inclusivity. Many of us came into the blockchain space exactly for the promise of the technologies to see that. 10 years in on a global basis, what we see coming out of India with your government support and all the ecosystem players is that these things are not only possible technically now, the technology's there, the talent to implement the technology's there, the support of the government is there, but very importantly, the user, right? The end user acceptance and feeling comfortable with these technologies is there. And I think that is a unique opportunity for India to continue building these technologies to deliver on those needs. So we were so grateful for all the work that you, Ayanworks, and others in the digital identity space do as well. I'm going to jump into some questions, and feel free to put questions for those who are attending in the webinar chat or in the Q&A section. I see a question from AJ around, can the LFDT India chapter host working groups to work on India-specific tasks around digital trust ecosystem and governance? Feel free, whoever wants to take that one, to answer that question.
Yeah, so then I responded, I think this is a good initiative. We could, because India is a hub for the DPI ecosystem, and large number of these DPIs are leveraging the blockchain and DLT based projects. So we could definitely should start this initiative, some kind of working group towards bringing all this initiative together. So happy to be maybe create a separate working group in the India chapter for that one.
Okay, great. And how would folks go around kind of making that proposition? Does the India chapter have a regular meeting that they could attend and bring those kind of requests and contribution opportunities?
Yeah, so for everyone who joined, I think India chapter have a every Thursday 3 p.m. IST meeting on Zoom. I think tomorrow you can also join, and whatever you're doing and want to contribute and want to explore the opportunities in the ecosystem, you could join us. And I think we could create the extra meetings for the different working groups as well. That always the LFD staff support us on the logistic part.
Excellent, great. So now everyone knows where to go about doing that. And if there's links that you can put into the chat, that would be fantastic for people to do that. We have Vincent Agaboo from Nigeria. Welcome, Vincent. Great to see you here today. And he has a goal to build sustainable blockchain economies. But one of the questions he's asking is, he'd love to connect and be with a mentor. Vikram or Kamlesh or Annika, can either of you, I don't know if, Kamlesh, I know you've been a mentor before in the past. Can you talk, just to highlight a bit about the mentorship, and we'll put the link on the chat as well for folks.
Yeah. So generally the eligibility mentorship program works in a simple way. Like any mentor or anybody who would like to become mentor can propose any project or any idea. And when the technical steering committee select that project, now this projects will be open for any mentee, and mentee will be the student, working professor, anyone who would like to contribute to this project, work with mentor. And even this is a paid mentorship. So especially the mentees get paid when they're working on this particular project. And I think currently this year mentorship program is open. You could apply, I think, before May 13 or 16, I believe. And for mentors is already closed, but for the mentees who want to start the application can submit here.
Wonderful. And I put a link there on the chat if you want to grab that. That goes to a recent blog post that we talked about the process. So we look forward to many of you participating, past mentees and past mentors as well. Thank you for all your contributions. I'd like to go ahead, and if there's no additional, there's some Q&A questions. I could go take a look at that and see. Can you describe any activity in India focused on building expertise at LFDT platform architects to enable discussions with business entities on how these platforms can enable or gain business advantages, with the goal of the platform becoming a reference architecture for business? It's from Jeff. Jeff is one of our leaders, I think, in one of our supply chain groups. any comments on that?
So, Jeb, actually, we connect regularly every week, and whatever the new initiative or new agenda we see, we work on this one. For example, currently, let's say this India ebook release. Now we are working on one government e-governance ebook. Then we working on supply chain ebook as well. So I think we are open if anyone is coming with the idea and want to contribute and want to even take an initiative under the LFDT India chapter. But for the specific building the capabilities, we are doing for the students, but not for the leaders. But I think that the leader perspective, we generally you host the workshops or host the events, meetup, those kind of hyper hack or any of the blockchain stories programs, but not specific leadership programs we are having. Or Vikram, you can add something if I miss something.
No, I think, you pretty much covered it. The idea is that, for leaders and those who want to share something, we have, various platforms as part of India chapter. And, people know how avid supporter I am of, new events and, talks and, sharing experiences. So, I think, together, we have, done that, created a platform. But yes, like not specifically for that, but essentially that's a means of, achieving the same goal, I believe.
Okay. Fantastic. There's a question from Gaurav Patidar around given the EU's progress with EPSI, and EPSI is the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, and we also see others like LACNAC which is the International Development Bank that is building LACNet and LACChain. We're seeing a lot of this public infrastructure, regionally being developed and being put into production. It would support India in building a similar decentralized identity infrastructure aligned with open standards and pure digital initiatives. And Annika, I think you talked a little bit about that, so maybe you can add some additional comments on that one.
I think India also has, if you can see the India stack, which has published India Blockchain Initiative, which has been published. So there are few things which and Aadhaar 2.0 and DigiLocker 2.0, if you will see. India is going towards a self-sovereign identity, but I think there are still some regulatory works which are going towards this UDI wallet that you mentioned and European blockchain service infrastructure. So I think India's blockchain stack, India stack, it is also in the same lines of blockchain services infrastructure, which is building for India. There are open credentials, or you can say the governance frameworks are still laying down, or maybe the frameworks we can see in some time.
So I can.
Kamlesh, I apologize. We're going to have to wrap this up. And I apologize because I was going off of my Pacific, which is a half an hour difference on the thing. So, and I didn't get the time mentioned. So I apologize. I'm going to wrap this up and thank you, Annika, Kamlesh, and Vikram. I apologize for going over. I did not get my time down good. Julian, over to you. And thanks again for all your support here with this panel.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. That was a very interesting session. Thank you very much for the Indian chapter. You have made so much, it also so possible. I'm now just going to get this to work. Start my video. Hi. So this is the first first member panel, and we're going to have to keep that very much to time. So we have 25 minutes, and firstly, I think this is very timely, and I think it was mentioned very much by Ankita and others and Daniela about how public sector has been so important, and the DPI, the whole area of that decentralized technologies have been very much been working on. So this panel is about real-world blockchain case studies in the public sector, and we do have lots of real-world production cases, decentralized identity, government access, and citizen services. We have a great panel, and this is going to be the largest panel. There's 4 of panelists in this panel, and what I would like is if you could all introduce yourselves, and we'll do it alphabetically. So Gaurav, could you please just quickly introduce yourself and your please? Thank you. Gaurav.
Yeah, I was trying to get my camera on and there was a delay. So anyway, thank you, Julian, for having me here. And hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Gaurav Tripathi. I head the technology and architecture practice for Infosys Blockchain. So Infosys has been working on blockchain technology for over 10 years now. And when I joined Infosys in 2019, by that time, they already had a full-fledged blockchain practice that was operational for more than 2 years. And throughout this time, we have had the opportunity to work with clients across geographies and on different verticals, including the public sector and governments, on a variety of use cases. And some of those use cases were discussed when we had the previous panel in place. So apart from this, my primary responsibilities at Infosys are driving our technology and the innovation strategy, and of course, working with our customers on how we could deliver the best value for them on blockchain using blockchain technology. And then I also manage our contributions to LFDT. So yeah, glad to be here and looking forward to a great session.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. So next, alphabetically, I think Joji, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hey, hi. Thank you, Julian. My name is Joji Varghese. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Blockchain.io. What we do for last 5 years is we've been focusing and building large blockchain implementation in government and banks for document security. If you see, I think Kamlesh was saying there were a lot of startups who do working in silos. We were one part of it until Julian and Daniela came and met to us in India and said, hey, you should be part of the ecosystem. Talk to us what you're doing, show us what you're doing. And I watched, right? That totally changed the way we started contributing to the foundation and that. But from the company's perspective, what we've been focusing, we have processed more than 59 million plus documents in the last 5 years. We have done some large citizen services. Right now, the blockchain platform is storing more than $7 billion worth of financial asset. If you see the implementation of open source fabric working in the country perspective, it is 0.03% of the GDP is processed through the platform, right? It is handled by Fabric. So we are happy to be a part of it, and we are focused more on the large public sector, and that's been our journey. And I think I'm happy to be on this panel to discuss more use cases. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Joji. And next, we have Kalyan. I think K next. Kalyan.
Hi, Julian. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here, Julian, and to the fellow innovators here. So I'm Kalyan Kulkarni, CEO, co-founder for Ayanworks. I was one of those early fortunate adopters of blockchain technology back 9-10 years ago, like you all have been there, right? So at Ayanworks, we have had an opportunity to work on real-world decentralized identity implementations, not just in theory, but directly impacting how citizens access government services with trust and privacy. Over last 7 years of this 10 years of journey that we have been into, we have been at the forefront of implementing the self-sovereign identity in real-world population scale systems, including the national digital identity programs for a few of the countries in the Asia Pacific and in the Pacific region, of course. And as Julian mentioned, or Ankita was mentioning about, we were really happy to have contributed our open source credible to the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, which is also a DPG in its own right. And the prime reason for us, a vision for us to have contributed was to have an accelerated adoption of the decentralized identity and verifiable credentials at a global scale rather. So thanks for having me here, Julian. I'm really thrilled to be part of this panel to share my experience and insights on the technology rather. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And Siddharth, finally, but not least, from Digi Yatra. Has he just got a very good mute?
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Hi. Hi, Siddharth. Hi, how are you?
Hi. So thank you. Thanks for having me on the panel, and good to interact with so many real life people doing practitioners in the blockchain area. So I take care of IT operations at Digi Yatra Foundation. the name behind the Digi Yatra initiative within India, which is about the seamless travel experience through the airports in India. And we'll be talking more about as we move along during the panel discussion about Digi Yatra. It's an initiative supported by Ministry of Civil Aviation, been running for 2 years, and one of the largest implementations of decentralized identifiers and self-sovereign identity, a real-life example. So yeah, we'll love to share more as we move along in the panel discussion.
Okay, thank you very, very much. We'll now go to the full screen. So, so I have a number of questions, which we're going to go through. I'm going to really kind of set the scene. I think what we want to do first, then we're going to look at some use cases, and then look at some of the challenges, and then look to the future. So if we look first at setting the scene, where are we today with the development of blockchain solutions for the public sector applications? We're seeing a lot, as we discussed, a lot of increased interest and uptake. So I think, Gaurav, you're going to give us a little bit of a look at that. Gaurav?
Yeah, sure, Julian. Yeah. So I think to answer that question, we should take it in 2 parts. And a part of it was initially discussed is what is the government or the public sector institutions doing in an enabling role? That how do they enable a thriving ecosystem by laying out the policy framework, the regulatory framework, and of course the public blockchain infrastructure that would sort of accelerate the adoption of blockchain technology across the different providers. And then the second thing that is driving this is, of course, the sort of innovation that is being realized in terms of the solutions that lead to efficient government processes and better delivery of citizen services. So on the enablement front, I think it has already been talked about a bit about what the Indian government is doing with the NBF and the technology strategy and the public infrastructure that it has been building. But then I would also like to highlight that Europe has been a leader in this, and we have seen multiple engagements there. So in fact, they came out first with the MiCA regulation, and then they also have this EPSI infrastructure for folks in Europe to experience and develop on. And then recently, with the Trump administration taking up the government in the USA, we are seeing a lot of positive voices coming out from that country. And of course, we also see some evidences that the administration there is actually doing something on the regulatory and the legislative aspects of how to enable blockchain in USA. So I think all of this is leading to this increased interest and uptake of blockchain technology in the government and the public sector enterprises. And on the other aspect that I talked about is what are the innovations that are actually driving this adoption? So, and based on the experiences that we have had in terms of the customer engagements and the discussions that we are having, we see that there are 3 or 4 areas where I see a maximum traction in terms of the adoption of blockchain technology. So one of it is, of course, the CBDC, and India, the Reserve Bank of India, along with maybe 100 other central banks across the world, are actually driving the CBDC and are in the various stages of its development. And we were also part of the ECB CBDC trials that took place in Europe last year. And I think it was a huge success, and I think the number of participants was more than 60 in it. The other area that I see which is driving adoption and seeing a lot of traction is, of course, decentralized identity. And I see from the agenda of this webinar that we will have subsequent panels who will talk in depth about decentralized identity. But yes, we have also been involved in it, and we worked with the state government in the United States to implement a decentralized identity and credential management solution. And I could talk about it if I get the chance. The third area is, of course, blockchain. The primary use case is finance and money. So this is one area where we are seeing adoption in terms of the banking services, the lending, trade finance, supply chains. So this is another area where we have seen a lot of work that is being done. So in fact, Infosys came out with the Finacle Trade Connect a couple of years back. And now it's in production. And I think we have a number of 8 to 10 public and private sector banks that are part of this network. And last year, we did a project with SIDBI, which is the largest public sector lender for the small and medium scale industries in India, to actually modernize their lending processes and bring more trust and fraud prevention into their lending practices. So that was something that we did. And the last area that I would like to highlight where we are seeing the traction is on the records management. So governments, as you know, are like the custodian of large number of public records. And if you look at some of the developments recently, for example, the Municipal Corporation of Bangalore, they came up with something like e-Khata, which is essentially your digital tax record, which is now being maintained on blockchain. Similarly, we have had pilots for property records in Andhra and Telangana. And then we also worked with the local government in California on how we could ease out their records management and in a trustful and a verifiable way using blockchain technology. So yeah, we could talk more about all these things as we move on. But yeah, we do see an uptake, and I think it is a product of what the governments are doing and the innovation that people are realizing that blockchain can provide.
Thanks, Gaurav. That's a really good overview of from around the world in so many different sectors of government. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the Pacific case studies, and I think we're going to start with Siddharth. Obviously, Digi Yatra. If you don't know Digi Yatra, you haven't gone to an airport in India. So if you, I've used it. I don't know how many millions of people have used it, but if you could talk a little bit about that use case, that'd be wonderful. And then we'll go to others can cover other use cases. You're on mute. Yeah.
I'll try to be as crisp as possible given the time paucity we have and crunch the 2-year journey of Digi Yatra into a few minutes. So I think it's an initiative which started in December 2022 with 3 airports and now scaled to 24 airports in India, covering almost 85% of the departing domestic population, and the adoption rate at all the leading airports is hovering around 25%, with around 12 million downloads of the application and more than 50 million verifiable claims made in these 2 years, a little over 2-year period. So why I'm not getting into specifics of blockchain and all, I think in this forum, everybody understands what SSI is, what decentralized identifiers are. I think what needs to be stressed upon is that with Digi Yatra, at least one thing has been proven, that it can scale and it has potential, and people definitely are loving the fact that without being hassled or without being pulling out documents, they're able to just use their face as a verifiable credential and sail through the touch points in an airport ecosystem. So the platform is built on Hyperledger Aries. So we recently migrated to the recent version of Hyperledger Aries as the distributed ledger, and the Akapai agents for issuer and the verifier nodes. And the Asker wallet is something which we do use, and that is where we will be evolving. So today it is built on the national ID, which is Aadhaar. So only Indians can use it. Indians or the foreign nationals who has Aadhaar as a ID document. And once the registration is done, the verifiable credential for the facial data is shared with the origin airport along with the travel details, the journey details, wherein the integration with the airline systems has been done as well. So amazing initiative, and great during the initial days, great support from the community as well, from Hyperledger team and other during initial days when I remember when the things were being set up, a lot of community support was there because these frameworks were very new 3 years, 4 years back, and nobody had built a scale-based solution which has scaled to this level. So I think in the coming days also, we will be looking forward to the international journey and more interoperability scenarios, which I think we'll talk when you reach that part of the challenge and solutions, we'll talk more. I'll stick to the timelines and keep it short and crisp.
Thank you. And yes, I'm looking forward to seamless travel. Thank you. Let it travel outside India too. So, Joji, if you could quickly go through, we don't have much time, so Joji, if you just go through a little bit. And by the way, we will have other webinars. I think all these members, we could do a webinar on this activity. So we can definitely deep dive at another time into some of this really wonderful knowledge and topic. Joji?
Yeah, definitely. I could speak for hours, but yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Joji.
Thank you, Julian, and thank you, Siddharth. Right. So since we've been in this using Hyperledger Fabric and building blockchain platform for over 7-8 years, we've been on a trial run. If you see, one of the oldest blockchain implementation in India was done by Maharashtra Pollution Control Board to give consent letter, which was implemented in 2018. A lot of people didn't even know what's the difference between a blockchain and a database, that we had to convince the board saying that, hey, you give a lot of concern and licenses to industries across the state. Can we secure it and show that? Once that was success for a small startup like us, the platform we used, I think one of the most, I think as a proud founder, I can say where the blockchain really made value proposition and happened was during COVID. So the state wanted to create a secure way to store the RT-PCR test results so that people don't forge while traveling. So the entire, I think for the state of Maharashtra, we secured more than 42 million plus RT-PCR document where people can verify their test result, right? So if you see the scale and the quantum of the documents, we process nearly 250,000 to 3 lakh documents per day, and we could prove that the fabric could take that kind of data in and out and that. With that success, government also did something, actually I should say mini Digi Yatra, which is called a universal pass, where the citizen movement pass was built. I think we have processed more than 16 million pass. Again, that was integrated to the Western Railway, the city bus, where when the citizens want to travel, you need to have some regulated pass during the COVID to verify that you're a vaccinated person or not, and then you can access these region or you can move. And then I think that actually showcased the value of a deep tech like a blockchain, where the citizen actually didn't know that the blockchain was at the background, but the value proposition that we could show that implementation to the government was tremendous, I think. And few other implementation was the lift certificates, where which got a Soch award for the state government for implementing a certificate which goes on the lift elevator. We say that whether human people move, and you need to trust that elevator, that it is credible or it's been tested or not, how a citizen can verify. I think that was a great citizen services what the government implemented. So in government space, we have done some these kind of large implementation with Fabric, and other implementation in banking and NBFCs, right? Like the documents we've been very focused on. I think we secure more FD certificate, loan sanction letter, that. So as I earlier mentioned, we are processing more than $7.2 billion worth of financial assets on the Fiber. So these are some few implementation we have implemented through the platform and using Hyperledger Fabric over the years, and few in the credible in the education credentials, like IIM Ahmedabad uses a private blockchain, what we have built for them for the issuing their degree certificate. Right now, we recently 3 months back, we implemented for the National Institute of Stock Market. They give a lot of education for stock brokers. So that was an implementation, and Gujarat University. So there are some large, very credible production grade implementation happened in India over time. And we would be an evidence that a small company like us can go to a government and showcase them a value proposition, and still people are ready to adopt and try some implementation. And I think that comes with the credibility of an open source. We can say that, hey, this is an open source. This is something the global standards is using. We should, if there's a problem, we can come and fix that. I think that as an open source product, it has helped us to get and reach to government very fast and that. And these are the things we were doing, and I'd be happy to share more, right? I think I will just stick to the time and that. And thank you, and I look forward to share more use cases sometime.
Thank you, Joji, and a lot of wonderful stuff there. Thank you very, very much. And what we'll do, Kalyan, if you could talk, we're limited time, right? If you could give a bit of an overview of some of the use case studies, and then I'm going to ask each of you with one sentence, look to the future. What one development do you think is going to be important? And then I propose that we have a separate webinar at some other time to take this even further around the government services. Kalyan.
Super. Yeah. No, thanks, Julian. In the interest of time, I'll probably wrap up with just one use case, though there are plenty of just way George mentioned, right? So, I mean, since we talked about the European Union's movement to have an digital identity be used, I would like to call out Bhutan being the first country in the world to have adopted decentralized identity for the national ID program. So the Bhutan National Digital Identity Program is first of its own kind to have been implemented by the government, with the vision of His Majesty the King being then taken up by the Troop Holdings, which is the investment arm. And then, of course, we were part of that engagement. We were working with them hand to hand, shoulder to shoulder. But they have set a huge way for other countries to adopt, frankly speaking. That's the classic example. As we speak, at this moment, close to 250,000 people already have started using this, the national identity in the country, and they have started benefiting from various government services backed by the trust and privacy that is being built in the platform, the solution that you're talking about. So that's a classic example for countries to follow. Probably I'll take a pause there with the time.
All right. Yeah. So just very quickly, each of you, what is the one development or trend that you foresee in the next 5 years that's going to be most important in the public sector? So very quickly, and we'll go alphabetical again. So Gaurav.
Well, I would say decentralized identity replacing the international passport system.
Okay. Joji?
I'm betting on transparency with the intelligence, blockchain marrying AI. I think that's the future, right? Like, let's reshape the world. It's going to reshape the world.
Kalyan?
I mean, I would probably try to map it with the UPI implementation in India.
Okay.
The largest volume of transactions that we see in UPI, I'm very pretty much positive about the decentralized identity can probably go at least 3 to 4x in next 5 to 6 years on the same scale, is what I believe in.
Excellent. Excellent. Amazing. And Siddharth?
I'm betting on what can enable all of this, that acceptance of from the legislations and the government and policies for the digital ID credentials, because we still see a lot of challenge and legislative issues being laws to be changed to enable all this, what we have just thought through. So I'm betting on that will happen, the greater acceptance across the globe, across the borders.
Thank you all for your contribution, for being members, for everything that you're doing, and all your experience sharing today. If anyone wants to do Q&A questions, you can ask them that, and they will answer the Q&A in real time, so you can read that in the Q&A section. And thank you very much. I will now take you to the next talk. So I'm going to share.
There
you are. Oh. There you are. So Hart, I want to hand over Hart, our CTO, Dr. Hart, and he will lead this panel. And I'll take the slide down when you're finished introducing everybody.
Great. Can everybody hear me? Julian, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Wonderful. All right, so let's get started. So this panel is about decentralized identity and advances in trust, security, and scalability. We have a really awesome set of panelists today, and rather than me introduce them, I'll give them each a second to say a sentence or two about themselves. So let's get started. So Arvind, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So hello, everyone. I head the blockchain practice of IDS as a global vice president. And indeed, we are one of the companies who are both Hyperledger certified service provider as well as Hyperledger training partner. And we have led many large-scale blockchain implementations across multiple verticals. But one thing which I'll be highlighting today is Polyversity and Bharat Blockchain Network, which is one of the largest educational consortium network and a university ecosystem metaverse we are building with 140 plus universities and academic partners across the country in India. And of course, I'm also one of the contributor, or I would say course contributor to the recent Hyperledger, certified Hyperledger Fabric professional. Yeah. So yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot. Malini.
Thank you, Hart. And I would like to thank the Linux Foundation for inviting me to be part of this panel. I'm Malini Raman, and I'm from Tata Consultancy Services. I head Quartz, which is part of TCS's BFSI Products and Platforms division. At Quartz, we provide product-based, basically IP-based solutions which leverage blockchain technology. We offer solutions which essentially cut across different industry segments, different business verticals. And I must say the last 9 to 10 years have been an extremely immersive experience for me, echoing the sentiments of pretty much everyone who's spoken on the panel. In terms of looking at the possibilities which blockchain as well as AI ML offer, we see these as foundational technologies and complementary technologies. And I'm super excited to be part of this panel today and interacting with everyone on what decentralized identity initiatives we are seeing from a TCS perspective. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot. And finally, Mohit.
Thank you, Hart. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Mohit. I basically take care of technology and research at KrypC. It's been almost 10 years. We have been completely into blockchain, and we started with Hyperledger Fabric from the 0.6 version. So our journey of our company and with Hyperledger, it's almost going in parallel. And our work has been primarily into how to make a blockchain more suitable for the enterprise, reducing the friction for adoption. During that journey, we have built a lot of tools to make Hyperledger production deployment, production grade, and how to manage the deployments and the business applications without making a lot of change. Last 3-4 years, a lot of focus have been on decentralized identity. Whether we call it decentralized identity today, but in general, I believe DID and its peripherals were existing, but it's now coming more limelight because combination of DID and blockchain is completely giving us a total different strength. That's where Hyperledger, ND, and Aries, when they came together, we were doing it in a custom way using Hyperledger Fabric earlier, but with ND and Aries, when they started, it took us to a different level. So primarily what we are doing is we are reducing the challenges of complex decentralized technologies and bridging the gap for them in the adoption and the enterprises, trying to reduce their time to deploy such solution by 70%. Most of our focus today is on interoperability and how to make it more accessible, like combining multiple such technologies and use them. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, let's get into some of the meat of the content. So I'd like for you all to really set the scene a little bit and explain where we are today with the development of decentralized identity solutions, and just sort of go into why we're seeing such an increase in interest and uptake in this area. So Malini, maybe you could start us off with this. Why are people in India exploring DID?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Hart. So I think, in terms of what decentralized identity can deliver, I think we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg with the kind of initiatives that we have seen around Digi Yatra and around blockchain-based certificates being maintained at educational institutes and so on. But I believe the technology, is kind of boundless in terms of what possibilities it can kind of provide. We are, in fact, seeing a lot of interest globally, not just in India, but across the world. We are working with one of the large central banks in Africa, and they are looking at implementing digital identity-based solutions using Quartz to bring about, transformation in the whole banking and payments landscape in terms of bringing in greater financial inclusion and helping the unbanked get access to financial services. Because that is primarily one of the limiting factors in terms of the average citizen not being able to access banking or any other kind of financial service or other services. I think these are pretty much straightforward use cases, but beyond that, we are also seeing a lot of interest in terms of having DID based delivery for healthcare, in terms of enabling citizens to share their medical records in a privacy preserving manner from their blockchain, only sharing information which is needed for diagnostics purposes or with the hospital, instead of sharing all of the reports and all of the data. We're also seeing some very innovative examples of decentralized identity in terms of holding all kinds of assets on a mobile-based mechanism for exposing that with zero knowledge proof-based cryptography, and these kind of extend from in terms of all asset classes as well as areas like intellectual property or even in storing wills which can be exposed to lawyers and so on. So I think there is a lot of interest in terms of how this technology, decentralized identity, can really sort out and bring in a lot of kind of mitigate fraud, enable the organizations as well as individuals in establishing identity without really exposing all of the information, especially in the times that we now live in, where compromise of personal identifier information can become really, really tricky and result in huge financial implications. So a lot of initiatives that we are seeing globally from a TCS perspective.
Awesome. Those are all really interesting. So, Arvind, I know you teased a couple of use cases earlier in your introduction. Would you like to explain them in more detail now?
Yeah, sure. Yes. So, indeed, back in 2021, we saw the success story of DPI in India with Aadhaar as well as UPI. And that is when we saw India will also need a decentralized DPI, DDPI. And that is when we started building Bharat Blockchain Network. And the sector we focused is education sector, because in the early internet era also, obviously, the internet touched university system first and then it expanded to other sectors. So in that context, we started approaching AICT, the technical regulator of India, and today they maintain a node on our Bharat Blockchain Network. And one use case what we are building on top of Bharat Blockchain Network is here around 140 universities and academic partners maintain node. This is built on Hyperledger Besu and with a mix of validator and mirror nodes. And basically the infrastructure layer on top of it, we have a DID layer where university has their own DID with a coin wallet as well as a credential wallet, and similarly a faculty and a student. So this way we are creating a university ecosystem, okay, which aligns certain use cases in terms of new education policy. But one thing which I want to highlight in the interest of time is a metaverse, an educational ecosystem metaverse, what we have built. Now, this is like multiple universities coming in one virtual world. And obviously, every student, every verified student of the university gets a DID, which is mapped to their digital avatar. So that way, the virtual avatar. So this DID acts as a lifelong learning identity, but not only capturing the academic credentials or skill achievements, but also the interactions a student does in entertainment arena, shopping square, and esports pavilion. So their 360-degree life is kind of being captured in the journey. And another use case what we are also working is empowering marginalized communities with verifiable credential. This is with one of the department in state of Maharashtra. So what we are doing is here DIDs are being issued to citizens engaged in rag picking and informal sectors, recognizing their role in waste management and sustainability. So this DID is mapped to one, their state specific identifier, I mean national identifier plus a state specific identifier, and then some marginalized community identifier. And then they do upskilling, for which they get a skill credential attached to the DID. And then they become eligible for access to sourcing opportunities and tokenized rewards based on their contribution to carbon credit generation. So this is like creating an authentic, verifiable impact visibility for government departments, enabling targeted welfare delivery and transparent ESG tracking. And the third interesting use case, what we are working on is passwordless device identity management. So here we are building, I mean, this is a global project we are building, working with one of the largest US-based broadcasting company. And here we are assigning DIDs to edge devices such as routers, modems, and IoT hubs, so that we enable passwordless authentication and DID. So with this, basically each device is becoming a trusted node in the network, because the huge distributor network are all coming in one page, so that the credentialing is not centralized but decentralized. And this is where we are creating a resilient and scalable, secure infrastructure management in ubiquitous economy or connectivity we are getting into. So these are like 3 use cases we are working on ground, and we are seeing like value getting created day in, day out for our stakeholders. So, thank you.
Great, that's fantastic. And finally, Mohit, would you like to talk about some of your interesting use cases?
Yeah, in terms of use case, I'm completely aligned with what Malini had just explained, right? In terms of the different use case in finance, track and trace, education certificates, or inter-industry communication. So most of our use case are aligned to that, whether it is like issuance of certificate or communication of a bank guarantee, right? Anything in the legal framework where lawyer to lawyer communication, etc. But to answer to your question, that where we have reached today in this space is basically, I would say the one of the major advantage what DID or credentials, W3 credential standards versus the PKI industry standard of X509 certificate and custom implementation was interoperability and portability. So within a ecosystem, there is a lot of portability. For example, there is one project where there is a big conglomerate and they have, for example, different divisions, banking, insurance, etc., or retail. So how same user with same identity is able to get registered in one place and be able to communicate and avail services from different. However, we have not reached a space where, for example, a, an identity or a credential issued in one subsystem is able to access another system. It will take some time because trusted registry and schema and many other things, it's going to take a long time. And for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum, if we talk about general Web3, we have a wallet where I can connect to any network and have control. Although technically the DID standard helps me to do that, but we have not reached that level that the user really have their keys with them. It's going to take time. However, apart from this current use cases, the industry use cases, we are more focused on device economy, because a lot of devices, for example, a lot of IoT devices, so in sustainability, there are many things coming up. So every device will be issued credentials using one of the system or any other system. And next is how to establish communication with them because of these credentials. That's where we are currently working.
Fantastic. You alluded to a lot of challenges that are associated with building decentralized identity applications these days. That really gets into what I want to talk to next, which are, about these challenges and how you all are addressing these challenges. So, Malini, I think you earlier pointed to some challenges with understandability. Would you like to explain that a little bit?
Sure, Hart. So I must say that you're talking about SSI, and SSI is also one of the primary challenges, right? And when I say SSI, I'm actually referring to security, scalability, and interoperability. So these typically are, I would say, the key stumbling blocks which most organizations are dealing with. And that is where technology companies really need to focus on in terms of how do they get past these issues, right? Whether this is in terms of enabling smart contract audits, having robust key management protocols, Also, a lot of training on cybersecurity and audit of the open source frameworks which are being used. I think all of these measures will instill a great level of confidence in organizations as they embrace decentralized identity based systems. The other aspect is more from you could say, a governance or a business perspective. And this is where we see most of our customers, trying to chart out their path in terms of how do they actually increase end user adoption. So, how do they make this whole technology, this whole ability to use a decentralized identity more easily understandable for the average citizen? And we are really speaking about thousands and millions of citizens who may not be really tech savvy. So a lot of focus around training, familiarization of the protocols and how the whole thing works is probably one of the challenges that most companies need to also look at addressing. So this is what we are seeing from our interactions with the customers across pretty much diverse segments, because as a concept, decentralized identity is really having application across industry segments.
Awesome. Great. Arvind or Mohit, do you have anything else you want to add here?
So, coming to challenges, tech-wise, the scalability aspect of it, anyways, we kind of are addressing that. But when people understand, see, in India, the moment you say ID, right, people have these apprehensions, right? Today, you take Aadhaar, which is the national identifier, and within education of, within Ministry of Education and APAR ID. So every student, whether they are in nursery to throughout completing their career, the Ministry of Education is launched a project, ID project called APAR. And everyone asked us, like, okay, now you are coming up with a DID, another identity. So how is this different from the APAR ID, right? So I think some sensitization and bringing awareness and differentiating DID and ID, which are there, is something where we kind of typically face it's not a challenge even, but a kind of adoption friction, I would say. But then that is what made us do critical thinking and made sure whatever we are developing is complementing to the efforts of centralized ID projects by the country rather than duplicating it. Yeah. Thank you.
Just to add on it, I would say interoperability is a major challenge. So there are a lot of progress already happening. When I say interoperability, for example, if we have credentials issued from Hyperledger India is sort of a system versus, for example, Polygon ID versus Hedera SDK. Hedera have an SDK for DID. From technical perspective, it should be very easy, but actually it doesn't work that way. There are some work a developer or the operation team, they have to make some changes in schema, make it compatible at work. So it's not just technology, it's how disparate systems. For example, one enterprise might be using Microsoft Antara or some other existing issuance systems. And if you want to onboard multiple people supporting from different geographies, different subsystems, it's not seamless. So that is one thing which we have been working in KrypCore Web3. Second is key management issue, because most of the deployments, even what we are talking today, the key is not in control of the end user. And in terms of the server-driven keys, also there are techniques like key rotations and certain things. So we have to get more matured there. And last but then, not least is how do we get a tangible benefit? Like when we talk to the end user, how blockchain we had the problem, like when you see the output, how different it is from a centralized system, right? For general enterprise or a general user, DID, understanding of DID and their advantage versus what advantage they are getting in terms of, for say, processing transaction time or monetary benefit, that we have to explore more.
Awesome. Thanks. And I apologize, but we are running a little bit short on time. So I'd like you all to close if possible with, a very brief statement on what you think what's going to be the future. What developments, trends, or challenges do you see, happening in the decentralized identity space over the next 2 to 5 years? So if you could maybe talk for just 30 seconds on these. We'll start with Malini.
Sure, Hart. So in the conversations that we've been having with industry analysts, including Gartner and Celent, see, some of the predictions point to at least 500 million smartphone users using digital identity wallets by 2026, and we're just talking a year from now. And the number of transactions which are expected to be originated from digital devices is a mind-boggling 16 to 17 trillion. So with these type of numbers at play, I think what organizations and technology companies and organizations need to collaborate together about is to really handle the scalability aspects, the security aspects, interoperability, which Mohit spoke about a short while back, and work towards creating assets which can be kind of reused, just like the whole concept of digital identity itself, so that these assets which are built can actually be reused, licensed, and those efforts can be potentially saved for the larger good of the entire community. So that's what I believe is a key critical focus area for organizations.
Mohit.
I see it as again DID communication. All the IoT devices, including mobile phones, which Malini just referred, billions of devices, they'll be able to discover themselves and they'll be able to talk to each other, facilitate automation, automate transaction, leveraging this technology and some other technology for consensus.
Awesome. And finally, Arvind, if you'd like to close us out on this.
Yeah. So I think I see the future of DID at the intersection of AI agents and identity, right? Because as AI agents are becoming more and more autonomous and embedded into our daily life, what I feel is, the future where AI agents can be assigned DIDs to give them verifiable and persistent identities. And this is what ensures the traceability of actions taken by AI, right? And ability to authenticate and authorize their operations or establish some agent level reputation systems. Because at the end of the day, the future of interactions or transactions or communication is not just human to human, but agent to human and agent to agent as well. So I think this is where DIDs will play an amazing role, and we are also exploring some use cases in the similar lines. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all very much for your time. Thank you to our excellent panelists, and thank you to the audience as well. We'll be moving on to the next panel. Panelists, if you could answer all of the questions in chat and in the questions, that would be fantastic as well. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Hart. I'm going to jump right in. Our next panel is from digital assets to digital currencies, cross-border payments, and more. What are all the developments that are happening in financial services with decentralized technologies? I'm Karen O'Toney. I'm Senior Director of Ecosystem and Strategic Initiatives at LF Decentralized Trust. And I'm here with Satish Mohan, founder and CEO of Dhiway, and also Vaibhav Patare, Head of Sales at Qila. For the sake of time, we're going to dive in, and Satish and Vaibhav, you can introduce yourselves as you explain some of the use cases of work you're doing on later. I want to start off by setting the scene. So where are we today with building global infrastructure, connectivity, liquidity, and markets needed for financial services developments, such as digital assets and digital currencies?
Hi, thanks, Karen. Thanks for the introduction. I am Vaibhav Patare. I head the sales and business development at Qila. I have 15 years plus experience in entrepreneurship and business development. At Qila, we are basically the infrastructure guys who are trying to solve the adoption of the Web3 technology across sectors. So we are sector agnostic. We are not dependent on a specific solution per se, but we try to work with enterprises both public and private, to help them create that value proposition and the infrastructure that they require. We support with that. We have our own private cloud infrastructure in India, Middle East, US, and soon we'll be expanding in the Europe. To briefly answer what you just asked, and maybe then Satish could introduce, and then we could deep dive into it if time permits. I think we are running a little short on time, but I'll try to be quick. So with the current setup, if you look, there's a meaningful progress has been done, but still there's a lot of area to be covered. Especially we're looking at the global interoperable infrastructure in the digital finance or the digital assets, the currencies, the liquidity layer need a huge support from the ecosystem per se. From the Indian ecosystem, if we see, there are early signs of some digital tokens that are coming, which are still speculative, not yet significant in terms of the Web3 aspect, like the GeoCoin or the KrypCoin. But these are again solution developed in silos, which are still not interoperable into the larger ecosystem. From the global standard, if you look, the ecosystem is still on a spectrum where we are talking about a centralized system such as CBDCs to a fully decentralized public network like Bitcoin. So there are challenges that we could further discuss, but this is something that, to set the tone of what we plan to discuss.
Thank you, Karan. Thank you, Vaibhav. I'm Satish Mohan. I'm the CEO and founder of Dhiway. We started Dhiway with a focus of building solutions that can improve the challenges that we faced on data sharing. So when we talk about data sharing, I think we already heard in multiple panels about the interoperability issues, the standards issues, the format issues, and all kind of things. And that is a key thing, because we keep talking about multiple systems, be it Web 2, Web 3, or AI, but the common parameter that kind of links all of these things is data, right? And if we are not solving that, we have a larger problem with making this ecosystem interoperable. So at Dhiway, we are building something we call as a data assurance protocol. And this protocol basically has three sides to it. One side is about, at the core, it is a protocol that will allow data providers to tokenize their data, right? And on the other side, it allows the data providers to kind of publish and make their data discoverable to any of the data consumers that's out there. So each of those data providers will be running their own infrastructure, and we expect they will run any infrastructure they like, right? We're not enforcing any infrastructure or any particular data format or any particular system. So if they are using VC, yes, the data format starts with VC. But if their ecosystem is building on PDF, okay, it starts at that point. And on the other side of the data assurance protocol is the data consumers, right? You can think of data consumers are the ones that where citizens go for various kind of services. So think of like somebody approaching a bank for a financial service, and we're just submitting maybe 10 different documents as part of the applications, and those 10 different documents come from 10 different endpoints that is spread across different siloed ecosystems out there. So the assurance protocol is a data assurance protocol is about providing a capability to the bank to say that okay, they can resolve, they can look at the data, the systems can look at the data, they can understand various properties of the data, and the assurance protocol will route those requests to the relevant systems to resolve and kind of give them back the response. And that's the kind of the system that we are building. Yes, it consists of open standards, blockchain technology, cryptography, and distributed storage, and many elements that we really looking forward to see it coming up as a federated ecosystem where every data provider should have the capability to run a blockchain of their choice or storage of their choice. Now, how does this link to the asset tokenization or the digital currency project? And the way we are engaged with various initiatives, particularly with initiatives like Finternet, which is looking at how to reshape the global financial ecosystem, specifically from how do we kind of connect various ecosystems. Now, the challenge of interoperability standards are immense in those kind of systems because nobody wants to change their format, nobody wants to change their regulations, but we need to, if you're rethinking the financial flows, we need to kind of come up with mechanisms that can dynamically compose a transaction based on what the customer is trying to, or the citizen is trying to do, right? If I'm sending money or if I'm sending an asset from a location to a location B, there are various different regulations that get attached to that particular transaction. So it should be able to dynamically compose, dynamically verify, dynamically assure all the parties about how quickly the transaction can be completed. So Finternet is one of the initiatives that is happening, and similarly, there are many asset tokenization projects that are happening now. Having said that, in terms of like the progress that we are seeing, we also see a lot of challenges that is also hitting the ecosystem when these use cases are being brought up, and that is purely from the adoption or the awareness point of view, because many times the customers who are dealing with this or the consumers who are dealing with this is confused about, okay, oh, how is it better than what I already use? For example, like when you talk about CBDC or digital rupee, a lot of question is about, oh, how is it different than UPI? Because the regions like India, where UPI is the preferred way of exchanging cash, and similarly in Brazil it is PIX. Now, the ecosystems that already experiences that kind of instant transactions always struggle to understand, like, what is the big thing that is going to come up with the CBDC.
So maybe then you could, Vaibhav and Satish, get into some of the use cases that are relevant that help people really see and feel what is coming out of innovations in financial services in this space.
Yeah, so the few use cases that we see a lot of traction, especially from the Web3 standpoint, the financial market is the bill discounting one, or the invoice discounting, or the supply chain financing, where the ecosystem is supporting in a way where they see the value proposition, where the enterprises, it becomes easy for them to see how it can be utilized from digital asset standpoint, how it could be monetized, how the how to put it, how it can be a faster way to get those digital asset into a monetary system where you get the liquidity and you move on with your business. So this is one area where we see a lot of traction. Other area from the digital asset or the digital currency standpoint is the loyalty and rewards program. So with Qila, we are working on a pilot with a event management company in the Middle East, where they are trying to create the whole loyalty and rewards program using digital tokens, which is like a crypto, which is legal in the Middle Eastern market. So they find this is more of a empowering to the enterprises as well as the users, where the peer-to-peer or the larger ecosystem could involve in it, apart from the core offerings what these institute has to do. Again, as Satish mentioned, the interoperability challenge is still there. The participation of larger ecosystem from the trust standpoint, especially the data sharing standpoint, or the governance standpoint. Those are the areas they are still creating few bottlenecks. But yes, the movement is happening in areas of supply chain financing, the loyalty and reward system. Again, the cross-border payments, the governments are working, like for example, India and Singapore are trying to create that bridge of real-time settlements using CBDC, and trying to come up with the use cases where there's a private and public partnership which could move this conversation ahead.
And Satish?
Yeah, true. I think I'll broadly touch upon the digital assets, and it has a broad definition in our book, because it's not only limited to the financial assets. I think we work a lot with the government institutions and the financial institutions, specifically enabling data sharing. But for the data providers, data is their biggest asset, right? And which is powering various kind of financial transactions out there. So we see a lot of use cases where the institutions, the government agencies and institutions are using these technologies to help them monetize their assets. And it is not just about selling user data or sharing data without user consent. This is more about when user make a claim to an institution for availing some services, how quickly that institution can process that application in a way that they can actually reach out to relevant authorities on the fly and kind of make the transaction complete. So it's kind of an enabler to efficient transaction on the financial side. Financial side is something that we are currently focused on. And also at the same time, for giving such services to the financial ecosystem, how do the data providers get incentivized to maintain that high quality data, right? Because that's an infrastructure investment at their end as well. So, and it is powering various things. I think the discussions are moving, we see the discussions moving towards tokenizing land records, tokenizing health data. So there are various kind of discussion that is happening, but it's all kind of pinning into one core concept, that is digital assets. But the larger question that keep on coming up in all this ecosystem is about interoperability or common standards, in a way how they actually make this scale, not just within the India ecosystem, but in a global ecosystem. At the same time, when we talk about interoperability, it is not just limited to the Web3 ecosystem. It is also an interoperability with Web3 and the Web2 ecosystem, because a lot of systems that we deal with, which has the data or which is processing the data, is still Web2, and they're not going to transform things overnight. So we need to make sure that the technologies that we're building is capable of handling these kind of dynamic requirements that is coming from the ecosystem.
Absolutely. So we've covered some of the challenges, I think, already with interoperability, integration with existing systems. I'd like to then maybe look to the future, considering those challenges, considering the opportunities you all discuss in the use cases. What developments, trends do you foresee in the near term? How should our community, businesses, institutions adapt their strategies to perhaps address those challenges and move these implementations forward?
See, in the coming next 2 to 5 years, or maybe the next decade, we see that there are a lot of adoption across sectors for the decentralized technologies, and based on those adoption levels, the different value propositions do come up. The barrier what we see is, again, in the ecosystem, there's a lot of upskilling need to be done. Even with the tech guys, we need to, walk that extra mile to make them understand the value proposition from the use case standpoint. The challenge is that the tech guys are mostly on board, understanding the solution, understanding the value proposition. But when it moves to the boardroom or to the management, then there's a big challenge of ROI that need to be explained. There's no provenance history of the business or the solution. So I don't want to be the first guy out there doing that thing. Let me look at the West and see if something meaningful is done. But then other challenges, that ecosystem is slightly different than the Indian ecosystem. So these are the few challenges that we see on a day-to-day basis. Also, the regulatory movement is there, which is trying to support and create that public-private partnership and create that framework where, some meaningful traction could be gained across the sectors. Maybe, creating like a pilots of some or creating some sandbox environment, like what CBDC is done with the RBI has done for the CBDC. The framework, laying down the framework where inviting the private players like the fintechs, the banks, or the enterprises to come and build on top of it. But still, the enterprises, they see, okay, the other challenge is like the AI has also taken the center, the limelight, where, the priorities now moved on to like, okay, let's jump on to the building on AI use cases, push back to the Web3 use cases or the Web3 projects that were going on. So these are a few challenges that we see. But yes, there's an incremental progress, and in next 5 to 10 years, definitely there could be like, a larger ecosystem ready with a lot of value propositions.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Satish, briefly.
Yeah, quickly on this, I think the biggest opportunity that we see, that I see in the future, is making our efforts aligned with intelligent systems that is coming up there, because machines are becoming more and more intelligent, and we need to kind of start moving towards breaking the silos and kind of really focus on building interoperable technologies. But technology is not the only thing that we need to focus on. We also need to focus on helping communities to build governance frameworks, and that includes policies, regulations, and various kind of things, and making sure that we play an active role in that, and also really focused on building awareness in terms of what this is all about. I think those are the kind of areas that we should focus on. I think we definitely see a lot of opportunities, because a lot of things will definitely change in a way how systems are interacting, or when the systems are becoming intelligent. Yeah, we kind of maybe seeing different way of system handshaking for understanding what data they are going to deal with and where the data is coming from and who is the person who is dealing with data. And with all the technology innovation that we're doing it, yeah, we should be focused on making sure that we solve that issue collectively.
Yeah, I would like to add on that what Satish was expanding. See, now AI being the limelight where, every use case or every enterprise want to jump on that bandwagon and want to create something based on AI. But looking at Web3 and AI, they are not competing for the space. But we look at Web3, we are the foundation. So the data that goes into the AI that need to be, that need some provenance check, that need some consent, that need some validation. Given the adoption and eventually this Web3 would be the foundation, and the merger of Web3 as well as AI could create those robust value proposition and, create new incentive models, new risk engines, or, there are a lot of potential that we see merging these two techs.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for sharing your perspectives with the work that you're doing in India, but also globally. I encourage you all to reach out to them to learn more and check out our ebook where both of our panelists are featured. I'd like to hand it over now to Daniela and Julian for our concluding remarks. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Karen.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you to all the attendees and the panelists. If all the panelists that are can turn on their video as well, that would be fantastic. Just to thank you for everyone's participation today. Once again, I apologize that my section ran a little bit late. I got tricked on the 30-minute difference, and I really apologize for not seeing the alerts from the team there. I think that we've just had a fantastic overview of all the great work that our members have been doing in this space, as well as our regional chapter leaders. And once again, I want to thank everyone for their participation. I want to thank Julian Gordon for organizing this fantastic webinar. We are looking forward to more webinars that are really focused on deep diving into these use cases. I think there's a lot of demand. There's been some great questions in the Q&A and the chat as well. If you are interested in doing content and doing deep dives for your organization, please do reach out to Julian or Tomasz or myself, and we'll start getting those scheduled over the next few weeks. Julian, would you like to add any additional last minute? You're on mute?
No, I think you covered it very well. Thank you. I think as we always say, all of us are smarter than any one of us. Getting together like this is wonderful. I had some great interactions, great panelists. I think we need to do, we can do more sharing, right? Because I think it's so much good stuff to share, right? And thank you, Daniela, and everyone. It's been wonderful.
Right, fantastic. We put some links on the chat. For those of you who are not on the chat and are watching this via the live stream, thank you once again for joining us. Please visit lfdecentralizedtrust.org, our website, where you can find more information about how to get involved in the regional chapter, how to do training and certification, and how to meet some of the fantastic vendors and service providers, many that you met today, who are really driving the adoption of decentralized technologies around the world. So thank you, everyone, for your time and your contributions today. It is fantastic to see everyone's face. And I think, Julian, you want to do one last picture of everybody that is on you?
I think so. I think we can stop the recording, and anyone who wants to remain, we'll do a photograph. I don't think.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Yeah. So what we're going to do?
Okay. Stopping recording now.
Thank you, Thomas. So we try and get everyone up